For once, it's actually really lovely weather outside. Should we head to the woods and see how much art we can make? We've got a bag full of art supplies, so let's go drive to the woods. As you might be able to tell, this video was not filmed in January in Britain. I actually filmed this trip at pretty much the same time as all of the other outside ones. There was this really lovely week in September where it was sunny but not so warm that the camera would overheat. And also I was kind of waiting for the Peachtober prompts to come out. So we went to the beach and painted on some rocks, whilst also going to two cities and the woods to see how much art I can make in one day. One of the cities is already up, that was Gloucester, and there's one more still to come. The first thing I noticed when entering these woods was this cute little wooden bird in the tree, and honestly I packed some pretty weird and different art supplies. For some reason I reached for this tin of metallic watercolour pencils, but honestly I never actually use these with water. I feel like it doesn't look metallic in the slightest. They're from Darwin and they kind of have this scratchy feel that I just like to use for drawing. And I mean, even then, they really don't look metallic at all. It's also super difficult to find out which colour you're using because the ends look nothing like the actual pencil lead, but they have a lovely scratchy feel that I do enjoy using. So we're drawing this tree with this bird, and as always, I never go for realism. I've not actually tried realism with pencils like ever. I guess I have this slightly loose, abstract, kind of surreal style that often focuses on creating texture with harsh lines or swells or patterns, and it kind of alludes to a landscape or a person. And I think that's the kind of style that I'm drawn to. As you can see, the tree does have a lot of markings, but it's a very loose way of creating and it's a lot of fun. And actually today we're creating in loads of different ways. We've got watercolours, we've got water-based markers, and we're here for the full day, so we're gonna get a lot done. Here's the first one, a cute little warm-up. Just had some lunch and I'm sat on this seat that would be the perfect location, except we've got a tree in the way and we can barely see the building. So I think we're gonna have to move somewhere here, maybe put a blanket down, because I'd like to do some watercolour. How cozy is this little spot? And honestly, it really would be if it hadn't rained a few days before and the wet grass was seeping through the blanket. But you know what? That's what it's always like in Britain. I don't think I've ever sat down on the grass and done a plein air and it be completely dry. I've got the watercolor palette. This one I have had for years. Honestly, there's actually a video on my channel of me making this palette. That must have been a couple of years ago now. It's mostly just full of cheap watercolors, because when you're outside like this, and especially in this case because it was actually quite sunny, the paper was drying really quickly. I just don't think you really need good watercolors in this instance, just like I'm not using good paper, which probably didn't actually help. Unfortunately, this paper is a little bit odd because it's watercolor paper, but the left side is different to the right, so when you really look closely, you can see that one side is kind of bumpy and one is smooth. But let's just ignore that. I do like doing full spreads in this sketchbook though. I think using both sides of the page and creating a huge panoramic piece really looks amazing. It was never my intention because this is quite a big sketchbook. This is like A5. So I mean, it's big for plein air. It is big for plein air. So I really wasn't planning to do it all the way across because that's pretty much A4. The scenery all around is really pretty, so I'm just trying to get that across and realizing that it's actually been ages since I painted a landscape. Back when I first started plein air painting, that was all I did. And now I pretty much just paint portraits all the time or surreal, odd kind of things. I don't really know what I do. I just do everything. But realism, that's not something that I do. And I mean, obviously I'm not going to be able to create realism. We're only sat here for 40 minutes doing a quick little watercolor painting. I tried to make it look a little bit more abstract, a little bit more like an illusion of a landscape with splodges and water blooms and really obvious brush strokes. And I do think this is a different style. We've actually done quite a few different plein air painting sessions on the channel, and I don't remember ever doing a landscape like this. We did one in a forest when it rained, and I wouldn't say I really learned anything from that other than don't do a plein air painting whilst raining. So I guess there's that. But I've never done a landscape like this where the entire landscape is green. That's literally all that there was, and it's a real challenge. I felt like I had to create colour where there actually wasn't very much. To my eye, it looked like everything around me was green, but you can see I'm actually adding a lot of yellow and pink to try and bring out some colour. I do love painting outside though. I really recommend it if you've never tried it. But yeah, this one did not feel comfortable. It's been so long since I painted a landscape. We've kind of ended up in the shade, so it's getting a little bit cold. But how cute has this turned out? I kind of want to go find some flowers to paint now, because we've got one awkward page next to here that I really want to fill. So let's go look for some flowers. I don't know exactly what these particular flowers are, but I do know there were a lot of hydrangeas in this forest. Unfortunately though, I was a bit restricted with which one to choose. There were so many flowers I would have loved to have painted, but because it's a forest and the sun was quite direct, honestly, the majority of the flowers were in shade. I couldn't actually see them, I couldn't get to them, and they would not have shown up on camera. I found these cute little pink ones by this pond, and stepping out of my comfort zone again, we are gonna attempt to paint some flowers. As you can see, we're not going for realism again. You can kind of tell because I started adding the pink of the flowers immediately without thinking about what would be behind it, so they're just floating on white. And there was a lot of wasps and bees about as well. I think really I just wanted to use all of the cute pink and purple shades and fill this awkward little page that I had left next to the piece we did at the zoo. It's cute, it's different. I don't paint flowers, but I think you can tell it's a flower, so I'm happy about that. Still, it does need something. I'm reaching into this weird little tin of metallic pencils again, and there's a couple of pink and purple shades that I think could work. The paper is still a little bit wet, so it's acting a bit weird, but I think we just need to make these flowers look even less realistic, even more stylized, adding some harsh edges, just to try and define what's already there. And you know what? I think this is looking a little bit better. What do you think? We're gonna have to use red. Okay, bear with me, considering we've only got these colours, because for some reason I didn't pack a brown. I think that looks kind of cute. The red is a little bit more muted by adding the green on top, so it does almost look brown in this light. What do you think? I don't think that's too far off. Guys, look how cute this is. Okay, how cute is this little area? I almost missed it. It's completely tucked away from everything else, so I don't think anyone's really gonna come here whilst I'm drawing, which is generally what I look for in a spot like this when I'm outside. The worst part is when someone turns up behind you because it can really throw you off. And I have painted around a lot of people before, but I still don't feel comfortable. I don't think anyone can feel fully comfortable with so many people walking about, so I do try to avoid people. And this little spot is perfect. The only problem is we are attempting to draw a bridge with no brown, and we don't really have a blue for the water, but the water isn't blue. The water is actually like a brown green. This is the problem sometimes when you try and draw things from life, especially water. I don't know if you've ever drawn water before. Most of the time it isn't blue unless you're out on like a really sunny day. A lot of the time the water isn't blue. So sometimes if you want to draw something and make it a little bit recognizable, you have to kind of wing it. So I'm adding blue for the water just to make it obvious that this is water, even though you can see it's not there. Olive green and this grey blue is kind of making a brown shade. We have very bright green, and then I found this very bright blue, which we're going to use for the water. I think it works. I think we're just adding a little bit of something, a little bit more reminiscent of a bridge and water to really tie this piece together and not look super random. Gonna go have a look in this little gallery. It's so cute. How stunning is everything in this gallery? That's the amazing thing about art, is there's so many different types you can do. I mean, we've got woodworking, we've got purses and bags, as well as prints and original art. There's so much you can do with art. And even though I mostly like to draw and paint, there's even so many different styles and mediums. It's really incredible. This is a bee, Bella the bee, apparently. And we're just gonna skip over that. I decided to not attempt to paint this bee because I just thought it would look weird. If I just draw a big brown bee in my sketchbook, no one's gonna have a clue what that is. I'm not gonna know what that is. You're not gonna know what that is. I'm just gonna have drawn a weird big brown bee and it's gonna make no sense. And if I draw it on the grass, no one's gonna have a clue what that is when we're flipping through it. So we're leaving the bee and we're painting this little feature instead. I guess it's like a flower arrangement in this walled garden. Hold on. The problem is everything is green. Again, we are in the woods. So I'm gonna have to make up some color. Starting off with blue and yellow separately. I'm using watercolor in a sketchbook that isn't designed for that. But honestly, we're just popping down a base layer. It doesn't really matter so much. Now for the mess. I've got a random selection of water-based markers. Literally crazy colors and one rainbow pencil. I mean, there's also the tin of pencils, but we don't end up using that. This is a combination I've never done before. I've never used watercolors with water-based markers. I've also never used the water-based markers with a rainbow pencil before today, so we're doing a lot. And whilst there aren't many flowers in this arrangement, it's really mostly grass. I think we need to add some color to this drawing. So we're adding a lot of red and really highlighting those little flowers that are barely there. Technically, I guess the thing about art is you're trying to make something pretty, something that's better. And I think this might just be that. It definitely has more color than it does in real life, but we're now spontaneously going in for a little bit of metallic because I really could not control that rainbow pencil. I couldn't get green. Well, I think this has been a pretty successful trip. We've created 5 pieces of art in less than 4 hours. I hope this has encouraged you to pick up those pencils and create. You don't need the perfect setup. You can even do it in a forest. Enjoy the rest of your day and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.